Welcome to another brand new episode of BikeFit Tuesdays. In today's episode, we're going over bike sizes and why it's so difficult to find the right one. After a quick look online, it's obvious that there are loads of people out there trying to find the right size frame if you're in the market for a new bike and struggling. So we're going to try and address some of the pitfalls and give a few tips on how you can find the right frame size for you. So why is it so hard to find the right frame size? Is it because frame sizes are a bit misleading?
I think we're still sizing bikes like it's 1984. So, and I think this is the case with seemingly with bike manufacturers. It's the case in bike shops. It's the case with a lot of the information that you read online. And by that statement, I mean that in 1984, a bicycle was designed and proportioned very, very differently. So a 56 centimeter bike would have a 56 centimeter top tube. It'd have a 56 centimeter seat tube, an 80mm stem, and no handlebar drop. So the handlebar and the saddle were more or less the same height. I'm talking like kind of Greg LeMond era. Fast forward 35 years, and a 56 centimeter bike is very, very different. It has a 56.5 to 57 centimeter top tube. It's got a 50 centimeter seat tube, 120mm stem, and 10 centimeters of handlebar drop. The point I'm making is it is a significantly bigger bike than it would have been 35 years ago. And I think that this whole mindset hasn't really changed. To give you a bit of context, I'm 5'10". I ride a 52 centimeter off-the-shelf race bike. So if I was going to buy such a bike, I'd buy a 52 centimeter Cannondale or Specialized or Trek. Most sizing structures put me in 54, maybe even 56 in some cases. I mean, your bike, I think we were talking earlier off camera, is a 51, but it's which is a misleading size in itself because there isn't a single tube on your bike that measures 51 centimeters. There are a number of examples of this across the bike industry. Cannondale, sorry to call you out, but you know they make a bike called a Synapse. One of the sizes is 51 centimeter. It's got a 53 centimeter top tube. And this is one of the things that we're going to try and look to explore in this video, is to actually give you a little bit of context on actually how a bike is sized.
So we've got a perfect example here of why frame sizes are misleading.
If you take me as an individual, I'm 5'10". I've got an 80 centimeter inseam, and if I go into a shop and buy a t-shirt, I buy a medium t-shirt. I'm a medium-sized human being, so logic would dictate that I would be a medium-sized bicycle.
That's a medium-sized bicycle, isn't it?
This is a medium-sized bicycle, and this is with the saddle set kind of, at the upper end, but it's 6 centimeters too high for me. The reach is 5 centimeters longer than my bike. It isn't remotely the right size. Okay? There are a number of manufacturers doing this. I find with myself that when manufacturers group their sizing into small, medium, large, XL, I almost always find myself on a small. And I think one of the considerations to make actually with bikes from a fit perspective is that you're actually, a lot of the time you're better off going with bike manufacturers that offer a plethora of different sizes in their range. Trek in particular is pretty good because they do 2 centimeter increments from 48 to 60, and so you've got like 8 sizes in between that, in between that range. A lot of the time with multi-fit geometries, I think things like Giant for example, where there are only 4 or 5 sizes, you often end up between sizes, which is a roundabout way of saying doesn't fit you. So I think that's something else to consider. If you walk into a shop and try on a pair of jeans and they're too tight, and then you try the next size up and they're too loose, you just wouldn't buy either of them. You go somewhere else. And I guess what I'm trying to get across here with bike sizing is that not all bikes will fit you.
I see stack and reach written everywhere and in loads of videos. What is stack and reach?
I slightly struggle with stack and reach because I think a lot of individuals, a lot of people tout it as the be-all and end-all of sizing a bicycle. Yes, absolutely, it's important to take into consideration, but there are so many other factors that need to be considered when beyond just stack and reach. To answer the question though, stack and reach is basically the vertical distance. It's the front end coordinates of the bicycle. It's where it's a rough guide of where the handlebars are going to be placed in space. So if you draw a straight line up through the bottom bracket, reach is the horizontal distance between that line and the center of the head tube, right here. If you draw a horizontal line through the center of the bottom bracket, stack is the vertical distance from the center of the head tube to that line. All right, it gives us an understanding, like I said, roughly of where the front end of the bike's going to end up. But what it doesn't take into consideration is how many spaces are applied, head angle, top tube length, handlebar width, handlebar reach, and control location, and also control style.
So it's not a constant with every single bike because the head tube angle is different.
Well, if you think about stack and reach takes you're talking about a single point in the head tube, and if you slacken the head angle of the bicycle so that this angle becomes slacker, essentially what happens is these controls will come further closer to the rider. A bike with a slacker head angle is going to have a comparatively shorter reach to the handlebar or to the controls than a bike with a steeper head angle. My point here is that stack and reach isn't absolute. There are other things that need to be taken into consideration. And when I have clients with me and they're asking, well, which bike should I buy? I don't just look at stack and reach. What stack and reach is good for is for giving a rough idea of frame comparisons. You know, if you need to get the front end 20 mil higher, the stack certainly is a pretty good constant. The reach, on the other hand, is a little bit trickier because there are so many other variables that need to be taken into consideration. I often get asked by my clients, you know, do I have an optimal stack and reach? Well, no, you don't have an optimal stack and reach, and we have Retool to thank for this, because stack and reach can vary, but you can keep the same fit. So, for example, stack and reach stays the same, but you put a short stem on and put more spaces under the stem. That will give you a different fit, but the stack and reach will be the same. So I always work in how the human being interacts with the bicycle rather than just the bike. And this is the problem with bike fitting in general, is that they make it all about the bike. I'm all about the rider, and this is the thing. Looking at the new Specialized Athos, the sizing structure puts me on a 56, slap bang in the middle of a 56. There's two sizes too big for me. You would be on a 54, which is still too big for you. And we've just been discussing off camera, is there a formulaic way of determining bike size? And simply put, no, there isn't. There are 1,000,001 calculators out there, and they'll some of them just go on rider height, some of them go on inseam, some of them dissect the two, but I think ultimately they don't take into consideration flexibility, strength, age, functionality, strength. There are so many different variables that determine what bike is going to be the right size for you. And furthermore, it isn't just necessarily about the size. You can be on the right size bike, but it doesn't necessarily fit you. We've discussed this about in a video previously, when you don't set your bike up like a pro. Most consumers shouldn't be riding race bikes. It's a fundamental fact, because most of them aren't strong enough, they aren't fit enough, they aren't flexible enough in order to ride these bikes that were designed to win the Giro d'Italia or the Tour de France. So I think the bike size is just one element of the fit story. I think fundamentally what I think we need to get across here is that the absolute best way of understanding whether a bike's going to be the right size for you or not, go for a bike fit first. Preferably in an environment where you have the ability to test positions, which is why I use this jig. It allows us to be almost infinite in our experimentation and get a really understanding of a rider's physiological needs and limitations. And only by understanding and scrutinizing the rider can you determine optimum size, optimum fit. That is the only surefire way. You don't have to come for a fit with me. Jump on the IBFI's website. They've got a whole list of a whole database of fitters, and they're all ranked accordingly depending on their experience and the technology that they use. I would also counsel you not to judge a bike fitted by their technology. But that is my fundamental point. Fit first, buy later. Be more informed about it. Go about it in a more empowered way. And this is what I'm all about: is empowering riders to make more informed purchasing decisions. Because one of the pitfalls that a lot of people fall into when trying to find the right size bike is they'll go to an Evans and they'll order 6 bikes and they'll go and test ride all of them. Every single bike's got a different saddle height, a different saddle pitch, different saddle fore-aft, different reach, different stem length, different handlebar width, different handlebar reach, different crank length, different geometry. They go and ride all 6 of these bikes, and you end up with a very confused individual. What bike fitting does is it gives you very intimate data as to where your butt needs to be, where your feet needs to be, where your hands need to be. And that is the best way of equipping you with the information you need to go and buy a new bike.
So this has been one of the hardest topics, and a lot of you guys have asked for it, how to choose the right frame size. And it's again a video that we just can't make because it's not fair to be misleading, give people a rule of thumb to choose a frame size and then it end up being the wrong size, which 9 times out of 10 these methods and calculators will end up doing.
Well, the aim of this video from my perspective is to just give you guys some more things to think about. I want people to think about the decisions that they're making rather than just say, oh, I'm a medium, that means I must buy a medium bike. I understand that it's misleading and it's incredibly frustrating to me, but this really is why I pitched the whole fit first thing, because it takes the guesswork out of the equation.
One thing I think we can safely say is that the majority of people that come into you who do end up having the wrong frame size, it's a size too big, not a size too small. So generally, based on the information that's out there, people end up choosing frames that are too big.
I think that's an excellent point. I almost never see anyone coming in here with a bike that's too small. I actually can't think of anyone that's ever come in here with a bike that's too small. Bike size is generally a result of saddle height, or is generally driven by saddle height. If you consider that the most common saddle height reduction I make is about 20 millimeters, that's a bike size. So I think a lot of the sizing structure is built off of excessive saddle heights, fundamentally.
That concludes today's episode of Bike Fit Tuesdays. Stop buying bikes that are too big and get a bike fit first, because it will save you money in the long run. Thank you as always for watching. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and we'll do our best to answer any bike fit questions that you have. Equally, if you want to book a fit with James and you live in London, or you want to fly here, we wouldn't be the first person, but a link down below to the booking page for that as well. See you next time.